working moms.
Hey, working dads.
Hey, aspiring working parents.
And allies of working parents.
Are you in search of your pillow?
Does it take you 24 hours just to get out the door in the morning?
Are you the family ATM?
Or the family Uber driver?
Are you on a Zoom call for work while carpooling while also watching a practice?
If so, welcome to our world, the Parents at Work podcast.
I'm Lori.
I'm Jason.
We are married.
And we have two wild and crazy redheaded boys.
We're here to shine a light on the roller coaster ride that is working parenthood. I'm a healthcare lawyer and founder of a working parent community called Mindful Return.
And I'm an executive coach with Ready, Set, Launch, LLC. I wrote a cool book called Relationships to Infinity.
And I wrote a cool book called Back to Work After Baby. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Parents at Work podcast. I am so excited that we, Jason Levin, are having guests back on the podcast for the first time in over 18 months, right? I mean, it's been a hot minute.
I am equally excited. I'm equally excited to be with you and to be with guests on the Parents at Work podcast.
So before we took our little life hiatus from this project, we did have a pattern of interviewing two moms and two dads in a particular industry or role or sector and having conversations with both of them. And then right before our little hiatus, we had recorded episode 57, May 13th, 2024, a conversation with two general counsel moms. And we said, okay, next are the general counsel dads. We reached out to Jesse and we reached out to Andrew and we're like, okay, we're ready to go. And then our worlds just crumbled. And you know what? It's okay. It is never too late to pick up on a thought that you had a long time ago and that you want to continue with. So we are so excited today to welcome Jesse Raben and Andrew Ting to our conversation to pick up where we left off and finally hear the voices of some general counsel or lawyer dads to put them into the mix. So, Jason, you want to introduce Andrew to our listeners?
Would be happy to introduce Andrew as he's starting his new job this week, and we're reaching him in his office for the first time. Andrew Ting has led legal compliance and government affairs teams at financial services and technology companies. He's currently the executive vice president at the American Bankers Association. Congratulations on your new job. And an adjunct professor teaching entrepreneurship at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. Hoya Saxa. I'm
Go
an
Hoyas.
MBA. Go Hoyas. And corporate planning at George Washington University Law School. We like them too. Andrew recently celebrated his 20th wedding anniversary with his wife, Carrie. Mazel tov. And they have two sons, Ryan and Alexander. Ryan is a freshman at Harvard College studying engineering and physics. And Alexander is a junior high school interested in data science, philosophy, and debate. I can only imagine what dinner conversations are like in the Ting house.
Welcome, Andrew. We're glad you're here.
Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you so much.
All right. And I'm going to do a quick intro of Jesse. Jesse Raben serves as Chief Legal and Risk Officer at Breakthrough T1D, formerly JDRF International, the leading global type 1 diabetes research and advocacy organization working to accelerate life-changing breakthroughs to cure, prevent, and treat type 1 diabetes and its complications. Thank you for your service in this area, Jesse. It's so important. He's responsible for all of the legal and risk matters for the organization. Prior to this, Jesse served as General Counsel and Chief Operating Officer of the American Insurance Trust, General Counsel for the Common Application, yay for Common Application, and Associate General Counsel for the American Psychological Association. Jesse lives in Washington, D.C. with his family. And Jesse, how old are your small or not so small people these days?
So 15 and 12. So we're in the thick of
Awesome.
it. Yeah. It's good.
Yes. We've got almost 13 and 15, so we are in
Yeah,
that
you're
very
right
same
there too.
life stage.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's great.
we are. Cool. Well, welcome, Jesse. We're really glad to have you here, too.
Glad to be here.
Okay. So the first thing that we'd like both of you to do, and Jesse, maybe we'll start with you since you're already unmuted, is to just tell us a little bit about your personal working parent story and journey.
Sure. So first off, thanks so much again for inviting us on your program. I think it's needed, and I was mentioning it to somebody this morning, and their response was, "I'm so glad somebody's." And this is coming from a mom. I'm so glad somebody is taking the dad's perspective on parenting, because it is a partnership, and we do have something to say about it. So I think for me, you know, I'm kind of, there's two worlds right now. There's the pre-COVID, or maybe three: pre-COVID, the COVID, and post-COVID world. And pre-COVID, the parenting journey, it was hard. Trying to get out early for soccer games or doctor's appointments, or, if we needed to step in really quickly for childcare, one of my daughters was sick, to the walking into my boss's office and saying, "Hey, I need to leave early. I need to make room for this." It was stressful. And I look back at that time now, and I think I don't understand how we all as a universe did that. Just the constant shuttling back and forth, and I have to leave, and please can I leave? And the people who can't leave their jobs, what do? The COVID, during COVID, I actually learned from another general counsel. She didn't blur her background, and she sat right in the kitchen. And her thing was, she needed to let her staff know, and anybody she was on a call with, "I'm at home. It's tough. My kids are running around. They're going to be watching TV. Dog's going to be running through. This is what it is." And that was probably a month into COVID. And so I adopted that. And I just thought, you know what? We're all in this craziness together. And so people are going to have to get used to it. And it was really during that time that I started to, there's that saying of elbows out. I started to kind of flex myself more and more to say, here's how I'm going to show up, everybody, and how I'm going to allow you all to show up too. So my kids will be running around in the background. I may have to leave a meeting early for pickup. I started to block things out on my calendars just for my family's responsibilities. So kid drop off in the morning, there's a block of time every morning. And I may do drop off, I may not, but it's blocked. Afternoon at 3:00, there's 30 minutes that's blocked. And it started to give permission. I've seen now that we're in this third part, post COVID, back in the office. Some people have to go in. Some people are working from my attic right now. And I feel like I'm trying to set the example by living the example. And it's, "Hey, sorry, I can't make a meeting because I've got to do something with my kid. I'm taking my kid to volleyball. Happy to take the call from the car, because I'm going to be sitting in the car in the parking lot for 2 hours. So I might as well get some work done," and kind of shift things around. And it's allowed me, I think, at least I hope, to be a better partner for my wife, because I'm more accessible, more available. She's a consultant, so she's been working at home for a long time. And so a lot of the duties of running them around prior to COVID was on her, and I'd always try and step in. Now I can just regularly step in, and I do whatever I can to give permission to my team to do the same thing. It's get your work done. You're smart people. And let's just, communicate as often as possible.
I really love how you flexed that muscle during COVID and the elbows out and just being a leader who shows other people what he's doing is so important. I also am glad to have the dad perspective here. It's not as common to hear working dad as it is to hear the phrase working mom, for example, but I am striving to change that. And given that you are both lawyers, I also just want to throw out there that there is now this growing community called Dad Esquire, full of dads who will get together periodically. It's run by a guy named Matthew Korn, where it's a space where people can bring their fatherhood and their legal career together. So wanted to make sure the audience knew about that. Andrew, over to you. We would love to hear your working parent story and journey as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've been a lawyer for 21 years, 7 years in a law firm, 14 years in house. 7 years in a law firm. Last year, billed 2,700 hours.
Oh,
Good
Lordy.
job, Andrew.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
my kids were little. They were 2 and 4. That's the breaking point. I remember it vividly. I had a deal that needed to close by the end of the year, as my client would go bankrupt. Came home 9 p.m. Kids had 101-degree fever. My wife is a very good lawyer. Didn't say anything. She knew I had to do the deal. Went to the bathroom because of the door that locked. Laid a chopping board over the sink. Put my laptop in. Was up till 2 a.m. just doing the deal. Worried about my kids, right? And after that, we closed the deal, saved the company, and I talked to my wife saying, I need to start taking recruiter calls. It's just not sustainable being all the
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
At the financial services company, it was be in a suit and tie, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I am most proud that I was never late for daycare pickup at 6:30 p.m., right?
Mhm.
Usually my kid was the very last kid there, but I was never beyond closing, right? And I would literally walk out of meetings when my boss would be like, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, I gotta go. And just walk out because that
You
was really
you never
important.
got charged the $10 a minute late fee then?
Never,
Yes. Yeah.
never. I would just walk out, and
Yeah.
right? And I did feel that the work-life balance was generally better. Like my wife and I would split because my kids were in different schools, and like I would do pick up here and drop up. It's always kind of a waltz, right? Going back and forth. During COVID, my kids were a little bit older, so we were all working at home in fairly close quarters, and they would listen to me being a lawyer, right? They would listen to me take calls. And I noticed that they started to adopt mannerisms of how they would schedule people or like corral people or start conversations or et cetera. Like even today, like my kid has a call with a German company, my 16-year-old education company. He's, Daddy, I have a call at 9, at 8:30 a.m. in Germany. Just don't bother me. He messaged the mom, said, don't walk in, etc. Very professional when I hear him through the wall. So I guess things just rub off, right? There you
That's
go.
hilarious. I love that.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, the lessons you're teaching that we don't even realize we're teaching. That is
Oh,
hilarious.
absolutely.
That is hilarious.
It's
Um,
amazing.
Andrew, I want to stick with you for a moment and pivot to a question around how you would describe what it's like to live at the unique intersection of working parent and general counsel slash high up lawyer in a company, right? Because that's not a role that everyone plays, and I'm sure that there are some unique challenges there. How would you describe that?
I think there's three elements I would talk about: info overload, triaging, and counseling.
Mm,
So info overload, not unique to general counsels, but as an exec or whatever, you're getting bombarded with information.
yes.
You're getting emails, phone calls, texts. Probably about 30-40% of my day is unplanned. It's just
Mhm.
stuff that you have to take care of. Being a parent is very similar, right? Like my school texts me, I have to read all those right away. My kid texts me, is it important? Is it funny? Haha, etc. Just have to like deal with it in the moment, right? Short term, medium term, long term, it all goes on up here. Triage too, right? There's always more that you can do. I'm a to-do list person. I've also made my peace that most of my to-do list is not going to get crossed out. I
Mhm.
choose like three things that I need to do that day. Usually two or three that get done that day, right? And then I have my long-term to-do list, the brain dump. And you just have to like triage. It's personal stuff, work stuff. What's more important in an hour, right? Finally, as my kids get older, they're like my clients, right? Where you no longer have direct authority. Like, hey, Andrew, don't touch that hot stove. It's going to hurt you. Don't play with that knife. No, it's more like, well, maybe you should consider taking AP Calculus BC, right? It's like counseling, right? Showing them this indirect influence more based on the trust, respect, rather than just like, you do what I say because I have authority over you, right? So a lot of lawyers don't have a direct authority over the business clients. We just give advice. We're not their boss. And so learning how to do that with kids as they get older is quite a useful skill.
Yeah, where you have some influence, but really no control.
No, not at all. Make your peace with it.
Yeah, those are such great points. The to-do list also really resonated with me. I had someone once say, I'm going to have a to-do list until the day that I leave this world. So why do I need to cross everything off of it? Just who cares?
Yeah.
And that you get 2 done a day is awesome. Okay, Jesse, over to you. How about your perspectives on that intersection of general counsel and parenthood?
So it's, I feel like the intersection allows me to be in a constant mode of teaching. I remember when my older daughter, she was in kindergarten, and they had a peace mat, PEACE. So if there was an issue that you were having with another kid, you could ask the teacher to go to the peace mat with that other kid, and you could talk it out. And she was telling me about it, and then in almost in the same sentence, she said, "What do you do, Dad? What do you do all day?" And I said, "Well, I'm the peace mat." And it was a way for me to explain, like, people come to me and they have problems. Sometimes it's a problem that's pretty much the same as your problems that you're dealing with in kindergarten. Just two people. It's not a legal issue. They're just arguing, but they think a lawyer is going to solve it. And other times it's much more serious, and I have to get more involved, and we have to work on, tougher issues. And the example I would give would be, so one of the people I work with would have to go to the principal's office. So if it was serious enough on the peace mat, somebody would go to the principal's office. And so it was my way of like relating to them kind of what I was doing, but it also gave me perspective at work about how I'm, providing advice and working through my day and the to-do list. Because the to-do, I agree, the to-do list is always there. It's dealing with all of the little emergencies that pop up throughout the day. As a general counsel, if you're lucky enough, I think you're more in a management role, and kind of you're keeping some trains moving. You're making sure that the board is happy. You're getting back to the CEO. And as Andrew was saying, it's, I'm at a point where it's easier to give here are the options you have. But here's what I would do. But ultimately it's up to you. And, but as a parent, what I would do, you have to kind of pull back. I feel like you have to kind of pull back because that's leading them. And then they're going to feel like, oh, I didn't do what Dad wanted me to do. And so it's trying to kind of find that balance. The other part of the intersection, and it's something I try to weave in constantly at work, is, and kind of what we were talking about before, this idea of parenting is just being relatable. I'm always using my kids and my family and our experiences as examples, because I feel like it makes you more human, because you walk in a room and, oh, it's the general counsel. My associate general counsels will send an email to a vendor and not hear back. So then I'll send the email, and within a minute I get a response. And I don't like that. You should be respecting my associate general counsel. You should be respecting my children, just like you would respect me. You don't need me to get involved. So it's the intersection allows me to take what I'm learning at work and apply it at home, and the other way around, because I never read it, but that book of Everything You Need to Know in Life You Learned in Kindergarten or whatever, how you interact with people, how you relate, how you trust, and how you have relationships. You learn about it then, and it needs to be applied. People forget about it, but it needs to be applied when you get into the workplace.
Amazing. Jesse, I wrote down that I would love to read the children's book called My Daddy is a Peace Map, That would be a good one, I think.
Yeah, that would be good. All right. Let's
Jason,
get to work on that.
Jason, over to you. Yeah.
Jesse, hearing you talk, you've used the word perspective, you've used the word relatable, you've used the word trust. How did you come to, what does trust mean to you, and how has that evolved for you as a working dad and a general counsel?
Trust is, I guess it's always being there, even if you're not there. And I don't mean at 3 a.m. you're picking up the phone. I think it's, when my boss needs an answer, it's being as responsive as I can be. It's giving good advice. It's the same at home. It's being there. It's being, uh, present. And the present part, and this is something, Andrew and I had a great opportunity to go through, the American Corporate Council, National Capital Region, Leadership Academy. And, we learned a lot of things during this entire year. But, one of the things is really being present. And the more present you are, the more relatable you are and the more trustworthy you are. It's easy to just say, well, you can't do this because that's what the law says. People will say, okay, fine. But if you can, to pare it back, be relatable. Here's why you can't do it. Here's some options over here. And you start to build, wow, Jesse's actually a real person. I would say one of the biggest compliments I got when I was at the Common Application, one of the people I worked with came over to me and said, "You're not at all what I expected you would be." And I'm just like, "What does that mean?" And he said, "I've met lawyers before, and you are not anything like any lawyer I've ever met. It's like you're easy to talk to. You joke around. I learn about you. You use metaphors to help me understand things. You take the time." And I said, I actually learned some of that from my dad. I also learned it from some partners I worked with who were boorish and not easy to work with okay, that's not what I want to be. I don't want to be you. So let me be something else where people will have that statement like the guy at the Common App did.
We're all nodding our heads.
Yeah.
That negative example stands so clearly in our memories.
So true.
And what a great teacher that you took the 180 approach. You're like, I don't want to be that. How can I be the great storyteller?
Right.
And what I'm also hearing is a lot of evolution in your journey as a working parent, as you became more present over time and being more relatable. I want to take me back to when you were starting to become a working parent. Were there workplace supports that you found helpful when you began your working parent journey?
Yes and no. The biggest help was before we had kids. I had gotten an overture from MCI, and for all of us who remember MCI, and
Back old telecom. Sure.
yes, exactly, and the money was better than what I was making, but I would have to drive all the way out to Ashburn, Virginia, or something. And I went to my boss and I said, MCI approached me through a headhunter. I'm thinking about it. And she kind of was like, whoa, hold on. I don't want you to leave, but if you think it's the right thing, but here's the deal. And I think I was engaged at that point. And she said, at the American Psychological Association, you are going to watch your kids grow up. You're going to go to their ballet recitals. Wow. You're going to go to their soccer games. You're going to take them to doctor's appointments. And if you're all the way out in Ashburn and you're commuting at least an hour in the morning and at least an hour at night, you're not going to have those opportunities. And so they might offer you 10,000 more than you're making here or whatever it was, but is that really, you know, is that worth it for you? Um, and, and so, there were things like, groups that we could get together and talk about being a parent and, um, a lot of, information that they would throw at us and then different benefits that we would have. But it was that boss who was very clear. And that to me was the biggest support. It was still stressful going in and asking her saying, hey, my daughter's got a ballet recital. She's 3. It's really important I'm there. But knowing that I had that, space that I could fill it up and I never had to go back and remind her, which was even better, and say, hey, remember when you said, so I'm heading out the door. So that was probably the biggest support for me.
How amazing that you had a supervisor that could say that to your face and live their values and allowed you to be the dad that you wanted to be. And that's an incredible workplace support. That's a really great example. That's special. That's very, very
Also,
special.
also
But
to understand that a man might want that too, right? I could
yeah,
see her maybe saying it to a woman, but to say, oh, well, he probably values his role or he might value his future role in fatherhood. And I think it was brave of her to say that.
Yeah.
yeah, I like that. Andrew, on to you and the same question. And clearly, you've had evolutions in your own journey from billing 2,700 hours to all these different types of things. As you look back in your working parent story, what do you think were the workplace supports that you found the most helpful?
I had a hard time. I think a lot of the law firm, my first job, for the first 13 years, the lawyer was butt in seat, right? 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Or 6 p.m. and then I run out the door to go to the daycare. Um, and any absence of more than 30 minutes outside the lunch hour would have to be pre-approved in writing by the general counsel.
Wow.
And she always said yes, but she needed to know because the culture at my first job after the law firm was that we need to know where you are. It was old school. I'm so grateful, well, not grateful for COVID, but grateful for the workplace flexibility from COVID. Just treat us like adults. We get stuff done, right? We can go home, we can log on, and that's another issue we can talk about later, like the always on mentality and how work bleeds into personal life. But I wish I had that workplace support,
Yeah,
for a lot of the early things. And my wife and I would just be frantically texting, like, can you do this? Can you? Because she works too, right?
sure, sure.
So always a juggle. Really glad that those years are ahead of us. We also live downtown too, so it's a little easier. So when my kids were in 5th grade, they could get home themselves. They would take the bus. But otherwise, it made it a lot harder. And we did not do certain activities like organized sports and stuff like that, just because we couldn't commit to doing that with our work schedules, right?
Wow.
Um, so it worked out fine for my
Yeah.
kids, but you make choices based on availability, but you have to drive them around.
Sure, sure. And now with hindsight, because now you've had different roles where you've been general counsel and chief legal officer, how do you think about workplace supports now for the people that are working for you? How has that changed your perspective?
Yeah. So I'm extraordinarily permissive. I actually tell them that, like, honestly, I grew up the other way. I want to be the complete opposite because I've seen how much I've struggled, right? They said, just tell me where you are. Like, I don't really care. My last job before this was fully remote, right? Treat you like an adult, trust you. Your kids wander in. Hi, I'd like to talk to your kids just to say hi, right? I mean, you know, a family is work. Family is people. You want to know the whole person, right? Like, granted, if people are private, that's totally cool, right? But it's the whole person that really matters. And how can you relate to people, work together as a team, if you just try to deliberately exclude a dimension, a huge dimension of your family life and relate to people and motivate
Sure.
them? So yeah, so I just started a new job last week, and I've been doing a lot of saying, "Hey, I see the pictures of your family on the wall. Tell me about them," right?
Yeah.
Because family's important. It's your identity.
I love how you're talking about the whole person and you're showing curiosity for others and you're showing trust for others. And you've learned through your own experiences. I wouldn't call it permissive. It sounds like you're being human. So
Yeah.
that's
I have,
fantastic. Go
I have
ahead.
a feeling we're going to have some listeners who are going to look you up and be like, how can I submit my resume to work for this guy? He
Oh, thank you.
sounds like someone I would actually want to do work for. Back to
Thank
you,
you.
Jason.
Yeah. Jesse, same question. As you've evolved, you've seen things in your career. What are the workplace supports now that you're thinking about that are helpful, or as you're thinking about the people that are working for you?
So similar to Andrew, I'm very permissive, and I think COVID was horrible in so many ways, but the one way that it has benefited me and people I work with is allowing you to show people who you are, what's behind you, kids walking by, um, and it gives people a chance to tell their boss, look, I have kids. I've got a dog. I've got this. I've got that. I have elder care. I have other things that are going on. And um, if I know if I require my team to be in their seats at 8:30 in the morning and there until 5, minus a half hour for lunch, and they have to tell me every single time they move, I'm not going to have a happy member of my staff. And they're gonna, every week when the new jobs get posted, they're gonna be looking. And I think, at least I hope, we're moving from this, kind of stodgy culture of, you have to be in your seat to actually do your work. Um, uh, it would be good if, that looking back, I wish we had had that before, but now I appreciate it so much more now. Um, I'm always telling my staff, don't ask if you can take vacation. Just tell me you're taking vacation. Because if you ask somebody, there's a chance that they're going to say no, and you don't want that. And I had that early in my career where a partner was just like, nope, you're not going to take vacation. I might need you this weekend. And I never got a call, that kind of stuff. And,
Right.
that builds uncertainty. And you'll have staff that are just much more loyal to you and to the cause of the organization if they feel appreciated and feel that you trust them. That comes back to the trust. I know my team will let me know, hey, I've got a doctor's appointment and this is going to be a big one. So I'm going to be out for 4 hours or whatever. Or I need to take my kid here or there. You know, I hire good people, they get their job done. And that's what I'm looking for. So.
What an incredible gift you are giving your team and your staff by letting them know that vacation is part of breathing and that it's not a question.
Yeah.
And that is a very big deal. And what a way to model leadership and parenthood by just letting people know that. So, and what I've enjoyed also in getting to, hearing both of you is your humanness. So I want to ask a question. Some people like to, ask, what was your major in college? But I think there's something more telling. I'm always curious of like, what was your first job in high school? So Andrew, kick us off. If I were to have met Andrew in high school, what kind of things were you tinkering with? What was your first job?
I was a street musician.
You
And
were a street
so
musician.
that's literally my first job. So I started playing the cello in fourth grade public elementary school. Um, I was scrawny, so I couldn't blow a wind or brass instrument. The bass was too big. I want to be not a violinist, and a violist. I didn't know what a viola was. And so I really liked it. I got into it, and I started playing in the community college orchestra in high school. And people would ask the community college for like string quartets, right? And so we would pay, I think we played like 50 weddings. We played in shopping malls around the holiday season, and we were like the human jukebox for like 10 hours of Christmas music on Saturday and Sunday in J.C. Penney's near the shoe section. And I hate Christmas
Oh
music. We would
my.
play the same 12 songs over and over again. So you also have to look like you're having a great time. Even the wedding we did, I lived in Orange County, California, so we did a lot of beach weddings outside. It would rain, it would be wind. We used clothespins to hold your music onto like the music stand. But you look have a great time because it's the look, and the show must go on.
Oh my God.
So I was
Lori's laughing.
treated.
Lori's
I am
laughing.
dying because I played violin and I played a quartet in the shoe section of J.C. Penney
Oh
at
my
our
God.
local mall. It was, I mean, I've never had anyone tell me they've had that experience. I mean, I'm familiar with the clothespins and the elements and the weather and the weddings and all those things too, but
Oh my God, that's
J.C.
funny.
Penney at Christmas? Oh my gosh,
It must be
Andrew.
something about J.C. Penney where they were actually encouraged to like hire
Higher,
local like
yes.
students. Yeah. I mean,
All right, I'm going to mute
I did it
myself.
for
I'm just laughing
years.
too hard.
So Andrew, in reflecting back on all of those gigs that you had, both at weddings and in the mall, what do you think you learned most about yourself in doing that in high school?
Oh my God. Don't overcomplicate stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
there was a wedding where you hire a string quartet is probably a complicated wedding, and I saw so many people get frazzled because the details, right? And some details are important. I remember we had to chase after the groom's car because he forgot to pay us as they were driving off, and the best man like paid us instead. But I was like, in my life, keep it simple, keep it authentic, don't have a lot of moving parts. Like my wedding was like immediate friends and family. It was like 12 people. We did it like in 2 months after we got engaged. Just get it done, move on to the next thing, right? I
Love it.
like just yeah. Don't like the big spectacle.
Love it. Don't overcomplicate things. That's a great lesson from Andrew.
Yeah.
Jesse, same question. If I were to have met you in high school, what were you doing for work and odd jobs and things like that?
Sure. So I was a tennis court attendant at some public tennis courts that were about 3/4 of a mile from my house. So I'd get up at probably 5:30 in the morning because the courts open, especially in the summertime, at 6 a.m. And they were the soft courts, so with the dust. And yeah, so I would open up, and there would be people who would call, and they'd have their reservations, and I'd have to assign them to courts and make sure that the lines were swept so they could see them. And at night you had to turn the sprinklers on, and in the afternoon you had to take a break, turn the sprinklers on. And we got all sorts of people, and they relied on us making sure that the books were kept in terms of their time. Some people had a regular time that they would show up, and I think honestly it was $1 to play for an hour or something like that. And so we collected the money. But the one thing I think I learned there, a couple things, was the customer service component, which was people in their mind, this so long before cell phones and whatever. So when they're showing up, they're relying on the fact that the phone call that they made a week ago, somebody wrote down and it's in the books. And so being sure all of that was kept. But when they got there, that their court was ready for them, that they had what they needed, and that I could answer any questions, because for my boss, he had to answer to everybody. And so I needed to make sure that he was okay also. So there's that. And then it was, I think, just the hard work component, I know, half the time I sat in the office just waiting for people to come in. Twice a day, I'd go clean the bathrooms. But in the
Wow.
spring, I think it was like the beginning of summer or middle of summer, and then at the end of summer, we had to resurface the courts with bags of that dust. And each bag weighed about 40 pounds. And so you had to bring them out, cut them open, stick them out, and then dump them into this spreader. And then you had to spread it, then clean all the lines. And there was no getting around it. There was no machine that could do it. It was just me and this other kid. Um, and it's funny, I live near some soft tennis courts now, and I walked by and they had these bags out there piled up at each court. And I took a picture and I, sent it to him. And I was just like, oh man, I don't miss this. And it was middle of the summer, and I was like, I could see these kids sweating like crazy. I was like, I'd been there. But it was also just fun. It was a place to go. I got a paycheck. It was measly, but it was something to do. And I could meet people and I could talk to people. So that was good.
It sounds like your early experience in being relatable on the tennis courts continues to serve, pun intended, now. So,
I was going to do another pun, which is, yes, you've learned a lot of attention to detail, but you were working in a very different kind of court
Ah,
system.
very good. Very good.
Oh my goodness. It wouldn't be Parents at Work without some puns.
Dad jokes.
Yeah. Exactly. On to you, Lordy. On to you.
Awesome. So we've learned about some of the skills that you gained from these early jobs. I'm now curious to hear, and we'll start with you, Jesse, what skills you believe parenthood has brought you that have translated into your career and been useful in your professional role as well.
So this is actually, it's a really good question. I think it's timely in the general counsel space too. And there's more and more webinars and kind of discussion sessions amongst general counsels now that we're not just giving legal advice, but we've moved into business advice, and in some ways it's also relationship advice. How to, you should work with this group over here. We're being called on to do so much more than just, review the contract and make sure that the trademark is registered properly. And I will say from the parenting side, that has helped me be able to be a better general counsel as these things have come on, because, in parenting world, you go to bed at night, your alarm goes off in the morning, you have 2 kids to get to school, you know exactly what you need to do, until one kid comes down and they're like, I really don't feel well. Throws off the day. It's no different than being a general counsel. You've got an 8:30 a.m. and next thing you know, somebody is calling you about an emergency over here and your whole day is thrown off. It's dealing with your relationships at home, treating, you've got 2 kids, same environment, same parents, completely different. And so how do you work with each kid and their personalities? And then, so you take that skill, you come to work, and now you've got 2 people that you have 2 different personalities. They have to work together. And so you're being called on as the lawyer. Oh, well, the lawyer is going to help us. You're Solomon in some ways. And excuse me. So I think in the world of general counsels now, because we're being asked to do so much more, being able to draw on the skills that we've learned in other areas, especially as parents, I think it's almost a natural flow. And I will say there's been moments where I've been dealing with an issue where it's almost like a light bulb goes off over my head. It's like, oh, wait a minute. I dealt with this issue this morning with my kids. Who's going to sit in the front seat and who's going to do this and who gets to get dropped off first. And and now I'm dealing with a similar type of personality issue here at work. And so I think, yeah, as the role expands, we're called on to really dig deep into our past experiences to help us.
Yeah. Same question for you, Andrew.
The cool thing about being a general counsel is that it's very general. And the law stuff, I don't know, it's like what, like 20, 30% of our jobs is actual legal advice. The other stuff is business advice or honestly relationship advice. And most legal issues are kind of people issues, to be honest. And a lot of parenting issues are usually people issues as well. So I think part of being a GC has taught me for parenting is that, I get asked to do stuff I have no idea about. Like last night, my 16-year-old was going to register to take linear algebra and multivariable calculus in Montgomery College. He was talking to me about this math class versus that math class. I have no idea, right? But it's because he loves me and he trusts me that he comes to me to help him problem solve, or like my other kid is navigating the dating scene. I have no idea. I've been happily married for 20 years. I have not been on the dating scene for more than 20 years, right? But again, it's great that you build these relationships. And so your kids, your clients trust you to ask you about something you have no idea, but you got their back. You're there to talk it through, to work it out together.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got their
Winging it
back.
is
You
a
got their
main
back.
Yeah.
skill. Yeah. Okay. What challenges or changes do you see, and we'll start with you, Andrew, happening for general counsel role more globally that are affecting working parents, even if they're not changes that are directly related to working parenthood?
So the problem for general counsels, especially ones who have international responsibilities, you're always on.
Yeah.
There are always red notifications on your phone. There are always text messages, right? In the days when you had an office and you didn't have cell phones, when you left the office, you left the office,
Mm,
right? You were done. We don't have that work separation anymore. I love the flexibility of remote work and, not being to sit at my desk for some call that may or may not come in. Jesse, that sounds horrible, right? About asking for vacation, the weekend. Um, but on the other hand, it bleeds into it, right? How
mm.
do you just shut things off? I noticed that with my kids too. They come home from school and they have their schoolwork and then they're working on their side projects. I have to tell them that just go to sleep. And they're like, I'm going to be an example. I'm going to bed, right? I'm done. I have my to-do list. You can see, there's a couple things that are not crossed off. I'd love to cross it off, but I'm going to bed, right? Or
Yeah.
just shutting it off. And there's always a temptation to have your screen in front of you when you're eating, or like even like you're in the same room, etc. I'm just saying, just chill, right? Like we had the good fortune before I started my job, and then we were in Paris for my 20th
Mm.
year wedding anniversary, because why not? And we were
Congrats.
eating at a French restaurant, and then my kid were being offered snails and frog legs, and one of them was cool, other ones was not having it, but they were like on their phones, like documenting the event, right? I said, let's put down our phones and just be present, right? Without all the distractions and stimulations. And that's something I need to work on too, right? Because there's always something buzzing at me.
Yep. It's a
I,
universal conundrum.
and when I have
Yeah.
my escargot, I'm always present with them because you need two hands. You
Yeah,
need
you
to.
need two
You need
hands.
to.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, my first kid was like, no way. And the waiter was a little offended, but it's like, no way. He was like, okay, don't push this. Yeah.
Awesome. Jesse, same question for you.
So I'll echo a lot of what Andrew said. It's, you know, being general counsel, it seems like as I said before, the role is growing, it's expanding. You really are always on. And, um, you know, one thing I do tell my team is, I'm the front person. So you can shut down at 6 or whenever you need to shut down. If an emergency arises and I really do need to call you, it'll truly be because of an emergency, but otherwise I'll be handling it. But when you get into this role, you are expected to, take the call at 9:00 at night, or be up early, especially for an international call. We have international affiliates, and for us to get on a call with them, it means getting up as early, 7:00 in the morning, and I'm on a call with our Australian affiliate, or it's at 10:00 at night and I'm on a call with them. And I think because the role is expanding so much, it's calling on you to do more. But as Andrew said, it is setting the example. And there's times where I'm like, okay, I need to get on a call, and I'll just say I can get on a call at 9:00 because my kids will be, my older one will be doing her homework and the younger one should be asleep by then. So that I'll have a quiet window. And so I'll start to dictate when the times are right. But and I totally agree with Andrew too on the putting down the screens. Somebody taught me a trick a little while ago. If you on an iPhone, if you hit the side button 3 times really quickly, it'll turn everything to black and white. And on your phone, and it doesn't make it as appealable to scroll and look at your phone. And
good trip.
The first time I did it, I looked at it and I'm like, oh, I don't like this. And the one place where I know that it affects me is when you're playing Wordle. You can't see what's yellow and what's green, so I had to quickly switch it back. But that has helped me reduce my screen time, and because it's like, oh, if I look at it and it's black and white, I'm not going to be as pulled in, and so I can leave it aside. But leading by example on those kinds of things, like it's okay to shut down, it's okay to not respond immediately when somebody sends you a text or an email. Let them know, hey, I'm not available right now. For kids, it's a hard lesson to learn, but slowly they're getting there.
The triple tap. I might walk around the house doing that to other people's phones. I don't know. Just saying. Jason, over to you for our final question. Final questions here.
Jesse, I think you've dropped something that might start in our house. So, all right, Jesse, lightning round questions. I got 3. As you think about, with the wonderful hindsight that you have, what's one piece of advice that you would give when you became a parent? What's one book that's influenced your parenting? And what's one thing you think other parents should know, whether it be an invention or technology? What are your top 3?
So in terms of 2020 hindsight, it would be give yourself grace. You need to be patient with yourself, and give yourself permission to, shut down for 30 minutes, to tell work, especially if you're working from home. You know what? I have a 1-year-old, and today is the last day this kid is going to be this age. I want to play with my kid for 30 minutes. And if it's during the day, it's okay. You're still going to get your work done. You don't have to make excuses for it. I'm sort of ashamed, but not really ashamed to say I'm not a huge reader, because I read so much during the day that by nighttime I kind of shut down. So I'm trying to think of a book that has influenced me in terms of parenting. It's a book that I read recently, and it made me reflect back. And it's the book, and I'm not going to remember his name. It's around here somewhere, I know. That it was written by one of the hostages, and what struck me more than anything, because I was worried when I picked up the book that it was going to be really gruesome, but it was all about survival and looking for the next thing and grabbing on to, hey, what's important in this moment in time that we can work with, and we can work as a team, and we can support each other. And so, now that my kids are in their teens, roughly, I'm using those lessons to kind of say, okay, yeah, it's freezing cold right now, but what if it was this instead? And what if it was that instead? And gee, when we get home, we get to have hot chocolate. If you're hurting in the moment, what are the things that you can use and think about to make things better, and to make things better for those around you? An invention or technology or program to spread the word about.
I mean, you already told us about the triple tap on the phone.
Yeah, well, the
so
triple
you're
tap.
covered if you don't have another one.
Yeah, that's a really good one, actually. So I'll stick with that one.
Yeah.
Those are some really great thoughts, Jesse. I love staying grounded, being grateful, and being able to pass that on to your kids. Andrew, same question. Best piece of advice when you became a working parent, a book that might have influenced you, and a technology or something or invention that you want to say that people should know more about.
Kids do what you do, not what you say. So if you want them to be a kind person, you need to model kindness. If you want them to be organized, do that, right? They're not going to say, like, do your homework. If they see you as a general counsel, like working hard, working diligently, they're going to imitate that. So a lot of people try to be parents and just yell at their kids to do this, do that, but they watch you, right? They emulate you for better or for worse. So I think that is cumulative. I don't know if profanity is allowed, but the subtle art of not giving a F asterisk asterisk
It's
asterisk
allowed,
by
Andrew.
Mark.
Go for it.
Okay,
Yep.
not giving a fuck by Mark Manson is a really good book. It's a book about how you need to stop comparing yourself to others, right? And how there is this myth that if you study hard, you get good grades, you go to college, you get good grades, you'll get a good job, and you'll succeed in life. And that puts a lot of pressure, especially like I think your kids are all like in the early teens, right? So you're starting to see that. And I've counseled other like high schoolers who are like, their parents put a lot of pressure on getting into certain colleges. And I told them to read this book, and I told their parents to read them. I don't think the parents read it, but the kids read it. And it gave them some grace just to not care as much and not be as anxious, which is really important for both parents and kids. We always want the best for our kids, but it's a fine line between pressure and also being free. And there are many paths to success in life, right? Um, as my kids have gotten older through high school and in college, they're super busy. They have their classes, they have 4 or 5 extracurriculars. We have like a family like business, a website design business and stuff. And then they have their social lives, right? And so they have to organize all of that. And like the paper to-do list here that you cross out the end of the day isn't quite enough. And so, it's funny that a life management skill is how to organize your damn inbox. We're swearing now, right? That's pretty
Awesome.
important skill. So actually, me and my 2 sons all use Trello, and then we have different boards for the stuff we need to do today, the stuff we need to do on a weekly basis. And the weekly basis is a bit more generous because you can have a crappy day, right? Something happens, but on a weekly basis, you're okay. Then this month, and then next month, and then long term. So everything that's rattling around in our mind gets placed, but you feel better about yourself because you are sequencing where it needs to go and when. And you don't need to worry about it because it's not in your today or this week stuff, right?
Wow.
So
Family.
just being organized, because kids these days are doing so much stuff, it's a really important skill. And if you're not organized, then you're a mess and you're anxious about it. So just having it all written down somewhere electronic where you can share it is really important.
Family Trello board.
Right.
That's
I love it.
I know.
first for this
Yeah.
podcast, and very cool idea, Andrew. Thank you. Okay, so we are wrapping up now, and I just have to say that I want to thank you both for being the type of leaders we want to have in this world. You're both so human and so thoughtful, and I'm just really grateful for your willingness to spend this hour together with us. Thank you for being here. If you are listening to this episode and you know a dad, especially a lawyer dad, who might be interested in listening to this conversation, please pass it along to him and pass it along to the moms too, because we also need to listen to the dad perspective. So really wonderful to have you on. And Jason and I look forward to our next conversation coming up in a couple weeks. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.